Today, we're diving into the South Korean thriller Beasts Clawing at Straws, a dark tale where no one is truly innocent. The story begins with a wife whose beauty doesn't shield her from her husband's abuse. One day, however, he's found drowned in their home pool. She hastily calls the police, but strangely hesitates to give her address. Clearly overwhelmed and tense, her mind blanks in the panic of the moment. Soon, the police arrive and inspect the scene. There are no signs of a struggle, but the husband's body reeks of alcohol. Taking the wife's tearful account at face value, they quickly rule it an accidental drowning, bypassing a full investigation, seizing the chance to put the incident behind her. The wife rushes to cremate him the next morning, but before she can even collect his ashes, she finds herself bound and gagged, naked and terrified on a table, just as she tries to plead. Another woman appears and ends her life. This woman, named Miran, is young and beautiful but trapped in a nightmare of a marriage, where her husband subjects her to abuse. Despite his polished appearance, he's a heavy drinker with a violent streak. Taking his frustrations out on Miran, at the slightest displeasure, she becomes her husband's punching bag. Worse, he forces her to work at nightclubs to earn money, with both physical and emotional torment. Miran lives in constant agony every day. One evening, Miran meets a man who's immediately captivated by her beauty. They share a connection, and she seizes the opportunity to escape her misery. Spending the night with him, after a long night together, Miran gets dressed to leave. The man notices her pale skin is covered in bruises and asks if her husband did this to her. Miran remains indifferent. To her, their connection is just a casual, temporary escape, nothing more. Besides, she's a married woman, but the man is undeterred. He tells her to leave her husband and promises he'll treat her well. Miran wishes it were that simple. She's married to a man who would likely beat her to death if she ever mentioned divorce. Then, one day, Miran makes a shocking discovery. Hidden in a drawer, she finds a life insurance policy her husband secretly bought with a payout of 500 million won. The beneficiary? Miran herself. Staring at the policy, a dark idea takes root. What if she killed him and used the money to start over? On a rainy night, she meets up with the man, showing him her husband's photo and hinting at her plan. Fueled by infatuation, he agrees without hesitation. Stroking her hair, he whispers, "Once your husband is gone, we can finally live happily together forever." Following Miran's instructions, the man stakes out her husband's favorite bar late into the night. Around 2 or 3 a.m., her husband stumbles out, umbrella in hand, visibly drunk. Seeing his chance, the man hits the gas and crashes straight into him, taking the body with him in the car. Later, he buries the body in a remote area on the mountainside. Thrilled with his success, he calls Miran, eagerly announcing, "Your mad dog husband is dead. I buried him up in the hills." But instead of praise, Miran's response is irritated. She wanted her husband's death to look like an accident. Only then could she claim the 500 million won insurance payout. With his body buried in the mountains, anyone could see it was murder. Now what? As Miran tries to think of a way out, she's startled by the sound of someone entering the house, keying in the entry code. Heart racing, she stares at the door and in walks her very much alive husband, reeking of alcohol, muttering curses as he heads to the bathroom. Frozen with shock, Miran swallows hard, her mind spinning. Though she's bursting with questions, she doesn't dare speak. Taking advantage of his bathroom break, she ducks into the storage room to call the man and demand answers, but he doesn't pick up. Then, the doorbell rings again. Startled, Miran opens it to find a stuffed teddy bear on the doorstep, quickly followed by the man himself. Not wanting her husband to hear, she pushes the man outside, and they sit in the car, tension building as they face off. It turns out the man hadn't killed Miran's husband at all, he'd killed the wrong person. Shocked and horrified, he realizes he's committed murder for Miran, only to end up with an innocent victim. This mistake devastates him, and he's on the verge of a breakdown. Miran, worried the body will be discovered, urges him to flee immediately, reassuring him with false promises that she'll join him once things settle down. In reality, she's only trying to cover her tracks, fearing he'll get caught and expose her involvement. Guilt and fear consume him as he collapses into a corner, trembling and muttering about going to the police to confess. The mention of a confession sends Miran into a panic. To calm him and protect herself, she suggests they visit the burial site together to pay respects. But as soon as they arrive, his mental state worsens. Muttering to himself, he suddenly turns and begins stumbling toward the police station. Watching him stagger away, Miran realizes things are spiraling out of control. Desperate to fix her mess, she considers her options. Out here in the dark, desolate countryside, she could finish this without anyone noticing. With a steely resolve, Miran gets back in the car, floors the accelerator, and runs him down. Shaking from adrenaline, she slams her fists against the steering wheel, struggling to process that she's just committed her first murder. Just as Miran is paralyzed with panic, her phone rings. It's her boss, Yeon-hee, a tough, self-made woman. Yeon-hee owns and manages a nightclub with authority and flair. Aware of Miran's struggles with her abusive husband, Yeon-hee had once sent her home to rest, only for Miran's absence to anger a demanding customer. When the guest slapped Yeon-hee in retaliation, she didn't hesitate. She grabbed a bottle and smashed it over his head. This fierce loyalty shocked Miran but also warmed her. It was the first time anyone had stood up for her. Afterward, Yeon-hee brought Miran into a private room, where she noticed her bruises and handed her a wad of cash, insisting she see a doctor. Miran, stunned by Yeon-hee's kindness, initially refused, but Yeon-hee shared that her own late husband had been an abuser, too. She saw herself in Miran, and this shared pain forged a bond between them, giving Miran a rare sense of trust and comfort. Now, trembling, Miran answers the phone and, overwhelmed, confesses to Yeon-hee that she's killed someone. Without a moment's hesitation, Yeon-hee tells her to sit tight. Soon, she arrives at the remote mountain site, and together, they bury the man's body, deepening their bond through this dark, desperate act. To cover their tracks, Yeon-hee drives Miran's car to a junkyard, where she has it dismantled piece by piece, ensuring no evidence is left behind. They then head to a pool to wash away any lingering traces of the ordeal. Deeply grateful, Miran opens up to Yeon-hee, mentioning her husband's massive life insurance policy worth 500 million won. Hearing this, Yeon-hee is intrigued. She urges Miran to kill her husband and claim the payout, advising her to start a new life with the money. Yeon-hee explains that accidental death autopsies in Korea are rare, only around 4%, and that her own abusive husband had died under similar circumstances. Inspired by Yeon-hee's words, the usually timid Miran decides to act. That night, while her husband is passed out drunk, she drowns him in the pool and then calls the police. When they arrive, she plays the grieving widow, heartbroken over her beloved husband's death. Seeing no signs of foul play, the police quickly rule it an accidental drowning. After the cremation, Miran finally receives the 500 million won insurance payout. With her newfound wealth, Miran's life takes a dramatic turn. She visits Yeon-hee to thank her, offering a share of the money, but Yeon-hee waves it off, saying she helped out of sisterly loyalty, not for profit. Touched by this, Miran feels closer to Yeon-hee than ever. To celebrate, Yeon-hee pours a glass of champagne, which Miran drinks down without hesitation. Little does she know, this glass of champagne will be her undoing. Yeon-hee, dressed in a lab coat and holding a chainsaw, approaches Miran, who's now gagged and tightly bound to a table. Before delivering the fatal blow, Yeon-hee gives Miran one final piece of advice. When you come into a lot of money, never trust anyone, not even your own family. With that, she slips on her goggles, starts the chainsaw, and in Miran's muffled screams, ends her life in a brutal act. After disposing of Miran, Yeon-hee heads to her boyfriend Taeyoung's place and prepares a rich meat sauce for him. She eats with relish, but Taeyoung, facing a table full of delicious dishes, has no appetite. Later, Yeon-hee changes into a revealing outfit, trying to charm Taeyoung, but he remains cold and resentful. Taeyoung has reason to be angry. 3 months ago, Yeon-hee vanished after taking out a high-interest loan, leaving him to deal with the debt collectors. As her official boyfriend, he was the one hounded by creditors, especially the dangerous Park Do-man, who's been threatening to kill him if he doesn't pay up by tomorrow. Desperate and broke, Taeyoung had tried calling Yeon-hee countless times, only to be met with silence. His frustration and resentment toward her have grown steadily. Now that she's back, Taeyoung realizes she must have money, and he plans to extract enough from her to save himself. Meanwhile, Yeon-hee has her own agenda. Her interest in Taeyoung was never romantic. She was only with him because her criminal record prevented her from leaving the country. As a customs officer, Taeyoung has the access she needs to help her escape the country undetected. Just as Yeon-hee is about to use her charms to persuade Taeyoung to help her get a passport, the doorbell rings. It's the police, investigating a woman's body found in a nearby creek. The body has a distinctive tattoo matching the shark logo from Yeon-hee's nightclub, leading the police to question her. Yeon-hee instantly realizes they must have found Miran's remains, which she had just dismembered and discarded. Nervous but attempting to stay calm, she faces the officer's questions. Tae-young, however, is visibly shaken. To avoid getting involved, he excuses himself, claiming he needs to go buy alcohol. But when Tae-young returns, he's horrified by what he sees Yeon-hee has dealt with a police officer in his absence. Furious and terrified, he watches as Yeon-hee, unfazed, sweetly asks him to help her dispose of the body. Disgusted, Tae-young stumbles to the bathroom to vomit. Annoyed by his weakness, Yeon-hee rolls her eyes and mutters under her breath as she drags the body into the bathroom to begin dismembering it. Tae-young, meanwhile, is left scrubbing bloodstains out of the carpet, a sense of dread creeping over him. He realizes that Yeon-hee's calm demeanor and skill in handling the body make one thing painfully clear: this isn't her first time committing murder. Living with a woman like Yeon-hee would mean sleeping with one eye open. Just thinking about it sends a chill down Tae-young's spine. If he sticks around, he's certain he'll end up dismembered one day, too. Seizing his chance when Yeon-hee steps out of the bathroom, he knocks her out cold with a frying pan and starts searching her bag. But after rummaging through makeup and odds and ends, he finds nothing of value. Then he spots her car keys on the floor. Realizing the cash must be in the car, Tae-young hurries down to the garage, opens the trunk, and finds a large bag stuffed with money. Overjoyed, he grabs the cash and heads to a local spa, stashing it in locker number 47 before planning to relax and celebrate his newfound fortune. Meanwhile, Yeon-hee comes to and sees her belongings scattered across the floor. Instantly, she pieces everything together. Betrayed, she vows revenge. Just then, Tae-young's debt collector, Park Do-man, arrives. Yeon-hee decides to use him to get her money back, telling him, knowing Tae-young, he'll definitely indulge himself now that he has cash. True to form, after leaving the spa, Tae-young heads to a quiet alley, hoping to find some company. But tonight, the usual crowd is nowhere to be seen. Undeterred, he keeps walking, only to be blocked by one of Park Do-man's brutal enforcers. Recognizing him, Tae-young panics and bolts, sprinting back through the alley. Just as he's about to escape, fate takes an unexpected turn. Just as Tae-young tries to escape, a car swerves and crashes directly into him, ending his life before he ever gets the chance to enjoy his newfound wealth. Meanwhile, the bag filled with 500 million won is found by Jung-man, a struggling bathhouse attendant. While cleaning out locker number 47, Jung-man discovers the unclaimed bag, unzips it, and is stunned to see it overflowing with cash. Tempted beyond belief, he sneaks the bag to the storage room to count at 500 million won, a fortune he could never earn in a lifetime. Jung-man's situation is desperate. He cares for an elderly mother with dementia, his wife is in the hospital recovering from an injury, and his daughter's school fees are due. Worse, his manager calls to tell him he's been fired for flimsy reasons, seeing Jung-man as a threat to his position. With no income and mounting debts, Jung-man sees the money as a lifeline. Braving the rain, he returns to the bathhouse that night, using his old employee access to retrieve the money and take it home. But before he can even relax, Yeon-hee and Park Do-man come knocking, tracking the cash. Realizing he's been caught, Jung-man reluctantly hands over the bag, but Yeon-hee quickly notices a stack missing. Jung-man apologizes, explaining he took it to cover his daughter's tuition. Just as Yeon-hee prepares to leave, Jung-man's confused mother suddenly enters, mistaking them for intruders and grabbing Yeon-hee's hair. Jung-man tries to calm her, but Park Do-man picks up an iron and strikes Jung-man on the head, knocking him down. His mother, panicked, clings to him, calling his name, but Park Do-man silences her with another blow. In a shocking turn, as Park Do-man turns his back, he feels a sharp pain. Yeon-hee, seizing the moment, stabs him in the back. Before he can react, she plunges another knife into his stomach, and as he tries to fight back, she drives the blade through his neck. With everyone else dead, Yeon-hee opens the gas line, filling the room with fumes as she plans to destroy all evidence. Jung-man regains consciousness and, with his mother on his back, manages to escape their home, only to see it engulfed in flames. He collapses to his knees, devastated, realizing that what he thought would bring wealth had only led to disaster. The entire 500 million won now belongs to Yeon-hee. She heads to the airport, planning to leave the country and start fresh as a wealthy woman under a new identity. Before boarding, Yeon-hee locks the cash-filled bag in a storage locker and heads to the restroom to freshen up. But as she's washing up, Park Do-man's top enforcer, a man she genuinely fears, appears. Known for his ruthlessness and loyalty, he cares neither for money nor seduction. He's there to finish his job, no matter what. Terrified, Yeon-hee pleads for mercy, but it's useless. He knocks her down with a swift kick and, with no hesitation, stabs her repeatedly. Yeon-hee dies in agony, and the enforcer flees, quickly becoming the target of a citywide manhunt. Meanwhile, a cleaning staff member at the airport stumbles upon a locker key left behind in the restroom. She opens the locker to find Yunhee's bag, and inside, the 500 million won. Stunned, she realizes her days as a cleaner are over. She's instantly wealthy and on the brink of a whole new life. But unbeknownst to her, the vicious cycle of greed and violence is about to start all over again.